Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out Rules Horror. Story 1. If you want a midnight meal in my college dorm, here are some rules you must follow. A place to share scary stories which contain a set of rules to follow. Okay, as you are holding this paper in your hand, I know you are a student living away from home, currently living temporarily in this rundown dormitory. In your current situation, because you can't manage your time or are too busy with school, or even part-time work, you can't get a decent afternoon meal at 6 o'clock. It's midnight, and you're hungry, and want to go down to the kitchen to cook a bowl of porridge or a bowl of noodles to eat, lest hunger torment you in your sleep. I highly recommend cooking at an earlier time, but it's time to come to the country. I can't blame you no matter what your circumstances are, but read these laws and follow them carefully or you don't want dire consequences. This law applies to the shared kitchen of dormitory 5B where you live. I don't know about the other wards, but the time for these laws to come into effect is from midnight to 3:30 am. When walking from your room to the kitchen, don't make any noise. It's better to walk barefoot if your slippers are damaged, or try to hold your breath if you're suffering from a respiratory illness that causes you to have a runny nose or incessant sneezing. Even a small noise is very dangerous. It's not that I'm afraid you'll wake up your roommates, but really, you don't want to see things like black hands reaching out from walls or a black shadow at the turn of stairs, right? So, I advise you to go slow. The entities waiting at the stairs will mostly just intimidate you, but their shape will keep you from losing sleep for the remaining 20 years of your life before you die. There is another dangerous thing that will stretch its arm up from one of the stairs and pull you into another dimension because you are intruding on the most active hours of these entities. Under the kitchen there is a small toilet right next to it. You know its use is to go to the bathroom in an emergency or to wash large batches of food and pots. But I advise you for the time being not to go into it. Make sure the small toilet door is locked tightly. If it somehow, or someone accidentally leaves it open before bed, try not to look into the darkness in that toilet, and then close the lock tightly. Don't even think about turning on the lights. I don't know why, but during this time frame, the light switch of this toilet doesn't work. Turn on the kitchen light as usual. If the switch doesn't work, try a few more times until the light comes on. This isn't spiritual, but this building is so deteriorating that our school won't pay for repairs in the student dormitories. During your testing of the lamp, if you see a big, black, white-eyed thing on the kitchen cabinet, don't pay attention to it. Don't panic, don't cause any indication that you've seen it. Once the light is fully turned on, it will automatically discard. This hungry creature always goes into the kitchen to rummage for food during our forbidden hours. The fact that you come down here to turn on the light is only slightly disturbing to it. Paying attention to it will inadvertently let him know that you are prey down here to give his life, and I don't really know what happened after that, because no one is alive to tell after being dragged into the endless night by him. If you open the faucet and see that the water is yellow, then it is already dirty. That's okay, pour some of the water you need into a pot, put a little red salt in it, it's in the small cupboard, upstairs on your right. Stir the water for about 30 seconds and the water will clear again. If the water opened is black, then absolutely, do not cook anything with water, nor wash dishes. Drinking water in a cold water bottle is also not okay because it has also been contaminated. I've put in there a few instant lunch boxes, took them out and put them in the microwave. On the side of the pitcher there is a kettle, from which you can drink warm water. There is one ingredient that you absolutely must not cook at this time frame is eggs. And one that isn't cooked is one that doesn't put any ingredients in it. I will explain shortly. 6.1 If you really have a hard time eating and want to make yourself some soup, I think you should cook it a little thicker, and put in ingredients to make the soup look less cold, like vegetables. It's both good for your hunger and prevents certain entities from emerging from the bottom of the pot and submerging your face in the boiling soup. If you are cooking white porridge, put in some red salt and minced meat. Well, speaking of red salt, I recommend using this salt during this time frame. White salt is fine, but it will not guarantee your safety in most cases. 6.2 If you are cooking boiling water, let it be as loud as possible. That way those unpleasant entities will not harm you. I once had a friend of this. He was cooking boiling water at the time but didn't let the heat get too big for fear of consuming gas, but the result I saw was that the next morning he had third-degree burns all over his face and chest, with a frighteningly disfigured face. 6.3 I really don't understand what a feud between creatures in this time frame and people who are just frying themselves an egg or cooking egg noodles. It's as if breaking an egg out at this time frame is like eating a demon fetus or stealing their only source of food at that moment. I had a few friends go down to the kitchen to boil eggs during this time, and the next morning their presence was just a pool of dried blood. Only God knows what took them away. In general, don't touch eggs until you're out of the kitchen, and I'll get to this later. 7 Next to the kitchen there is a very large living room. It is dark and quite scary. Don't look at that dark place for too long, if you don't want to lose your mind from hearing anything breathing in there. Don't turn on the lights, it just wastes electricity, because the lights will be quite flickering. It is not good for your mind to witness any creature hiding in it appear in front of you. 8 While you're walking around the kitchen or standing next to the stove to cook, if you feel like someone is hitting your shoulder, touching your back, or breathing on the back of your neck, don't be foolish to turn your back to look. When this happens, drink a glass of warm water, and it dissolves after a few seconds. These are just entities that are curious about what you are doing, but they are very dangerous. There are some people who instinctively forget this law, and the price they pay is the loss of consciousness for a period of time or the loss of their soul. 9 If you hear a banging on the door coming from a small toilet, ignore it. It will scream and make you feel like your head wants to explode or tear your eardrum, but do your best not to react to anything in it. What is bothering you in the small toilet will automatically go silent after 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Oh, I forgot, if it breaks out, don't panic, don't scream, but squat down, cover your ears, close your eyes, and count to 30. Then come and do step 3 again. 10 After you have finished cooking, here are the sequential steps that you must follow exactly from the words I outlined below. I emphasize this so that your mental health is not severely affected later on. 10.1 I think you should take the food to your room and wash the dishes the next morning. These creatures don't like humans staying too long under the kitchen. If you want to eat right away, then you have 4 minutes. If you eat in the kitchen too slowly, I heard there will be a creature as long as a giant centipede with 1,000 legs that are human hands. It has long black hair that covers most of its face, and its face is white and only one eye in the middle crawls out of the dark room next door to take you away. Because you were too noisy and disturbed his sleep. 10.2 Before leaving the kitchen, place a raw egg on the table. Any eggs are fine, but if the eggs are too small, then 6 for quail eggs and 10 for sparrow eggs. Then turn off the kitchen lights, grab your food, and run up the stairs quickly, and don't turn your head to look. As the descent, don't make any noise, the sound of your pounding footsteps is the only sound they ignore at the moment. If you forget to leave the egg or get too noisy when you go upstairs, the thing under the kitchen will chase you all the way up to the bedroom. Trust me, it's going to be the most disgusting thing you've ever seen in your life, and you don't want to go to bed when it's hanging from the ceiling looking at you. And even if your roommate is with you, you'll be the only one who sees its presence, every night. 10.3 If you have passed all of the above steps, lock the bedroom door tightly, and do not go down to the kitchen again that night. Moreover, if you hear that your food is rancid or the broth turns black, then pour it away and accept the fate of going to bed on an empty stomach. But lucky for you, this happens very rarely. It's over, there's no more law. Oh, I forgot this, try not to go down to the kitchen at this time next time, because the monsters in the dark will get used to you and the next time you go down to the kitchen, they will not be as easy for you to go as the first time. So, I wish you luck and safety when you have to go down to the kitchen in the middle of the night. Story 2. Sleepover Adventure. A place to share scary stories which contain a set of rules to follow. Hey, bud. Want to have a sleepover at my house? I've already invited some of our friends here. Yeah, I'll hold. Hold on, you will? That's great. You never get to join sleepovers as far as I remember, but that's all in the past. Well, I'll be looking forward to seeing you. As you draw closer to your friend's house, you notice something off about the neighborhood. Some of the residents are staring at you intently. You can't quite make out if they are frowning at you, or saddened. Whispers can be overheard from a neighbor to another. Unnerved, you gaze away from their prying eyes. At last, you arrive at your friend's house. It appears to be larger than the surrounding houses. The stars are shining, and the moon is dazzling, hauntingly beautiful to look at. The wolves cry out, or so you imagine. You ring the doorbell. Ding a ding ding a do ding 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 ugh. The melody of the doorbell reminds you of a cartoon you've watched before. Friend, Terry, my buddy. Welcome. Make yourself at home. I've got Joey, Huey, and Eddie all hanging around here. Why not sit at the couch over there? Terry, hey, Freddy. Thanks for that. I guess this would be a first for me. Freddy, no problem, pal. Hope this'll be a memorable one for you. Freddy, oh, right. My parents aren't here for the weekend, so they gave me these house rules for me to follow. Why not take a look? Terry, yeah, sure. If you don't mind me asking, where are they? Your parents, I mean. Freddy, they went to a resort in some place in, Europe. To be honest, I don't quite recall what they told me about their destination. Anyway, enjoy yourself, bud. Food's coming shortly. Terry, okay. As you lie down on the couch, you greet Joey. For some reason, he's silent. Quite unusual for him. You see the cage that Joey always brings with him, a cage small enough to contain his pet rat. Only, it had a gaping hole where its lock used to be. You sigh, and read the house rules Freddy gave you. House rules. Do not go near open windows at night. Close them before night falls. Remember to lock the doors before sleeping. If you see any pests, go down the basement to retrieve the pest killer spray. Don't loiter around the basement. The darkness in the basement can do things to the mind. If a neighbor approaches the house, don't open the main door. If the neighbor just wants to conversate, talk. Afterwards, follow Rule 1. For some reason, the last two rules vexes you. They appear to be handwritten with a distinct writing style. You brush it off as you slowly drift away to sleep. You feel something crawl on top of you. Tiny paws denting your skin ever so slightly. You wake up, utterly terrified. You see Joey's pet, a fashionable rat with a standout sash of focus. How did it break free? You see the pet rat point out to an open window. Is it intentionally trying to make you break a house rule? You hear Joey crying out for his pet rat. The rat immediately hides from Joey's sight, as if he's frightened of Joey. This takes you by surprise, but you manage to keep your cool and to yourself. Weren't they inseparable? You check up on Huey. He doesn't notice you. Staring at a screen, playing a game with credit cards as cheat codes. He appears to be driving recklessly. He runs over a pedestrian in the same spot for a while now. Something feels off about Huey. Normally, he would be cheery, talking about how he got it on with his girlfriend. How he had a blessed life. Seeing him reduced to this, you speculate that something awful had transpired. You are now at a crossroads. You decide your fate. Check on Eddie? Through the window? Staying at the basement? Option 1, check on Eddie. Feeling a bit unsettled now, you check up on Eddie. He doesn't appear downtrodden. Yet, he stares at you with an icy cold gaze. Eddie, Terry. Terry, hey, Eddie. Joey and Huey. Eddie, whispering, shush. Quiet. Terry, whispering, why? Eddie, he'll find out that it didn't work. Terry, who and what? Eddie, you already know who. He hasn't managed to convince me to stay. Terry, convince? What do you mean? Eddie, you've seen what became of Joey. He's been reduced to a crying husk who can't find his top percentage genetically different pet rat. He convinced him to stay, saying he'll help locate Joey's pet rat. Terry, I've seen the pet rat. I haven't told Joey about it. Eddie, good. At least the rat managed to elude him. Terry, I just noticed something, Eddie. Why do you not say his name, Fre? Eddie, you want him to convince you to stay? Go ahead. I'm making a break for it. Terry, alright, I get it. Eddie, whispering, SSHHH. Turn it down. Terry, whispering, alright. I get it. How will we get out? Eddie, from what I've seen, the windows are the only way out. However, most of them are tightly shut, and would make a lot of noise when opened. Terry, okay. Why not the main door? Eddie, I let my guard down once, and he convinced me that there was no main door. Terry, but it's still there. Eddie, good. You can escape from there. I can't, since the main door doesn't exist from my perspective. Terry, perspective, perspective. Eddie, whispering, do I have to remind you to keep your voice down? Terry, whispering, sorry. Have you tried to convince yourself that the main door exists? Eddie, I tried, but no matter what, I can't get all the details right, such as where, oh, I see where you're getting at. Terry, yes. If I can act as a marker, you can convince yourself that the main door exists at the area I'm pointing to. Eddie, it'd be worth a shot. But if it doesn't work, we've got to have an alibi. I'll go with I tried to convince Terry to stay. Terry, wait, what? You look back to see your friend staring at you menacingly. Option 2, through the window. You feel like you've been drenched in sweat and now you want to cool down. You inform Freddy that you will retire upstairs to his room. He offers to turn on the air conditioning unit for your comfort, but you refuse. Growing a bit agitated, he offers to check the room first for any open windows, but you refuse. You only have a few moments left to lock the door to his room. You managed to lock the door on time. Inspecting the window, you notice that it's closed. With great effort, you open the window. Your friend is knocking on his door, asking if it is unlocked. You feel that answering it would lead you to the same fate as Joey and Huey, and you do not answer. Knowing that the jig is up, your former friend bashes the door violently. He can no longer convince you to stay for dinner. As if by clockwork, a disfigured hand drags you out of the house with unnatural force, yet with impeccable grace. You find yourself staring at your rescuers. The neighbors. You sigh in relief as they do not wish you any harm. You've misjudged them for their appearance, and you get to enjoy a proper sleepover. Option 3, staying at the basement. You decide to venture down to the basement to get something that will exterminate the rule-breaking rat. You find one, and you go up to use it against the rat. Only, the rat remains unfazed. It endeavors to live, and among the battle of wills, its will is stronger. Before being defeated, it lunges at you with great speed, knocking you back. Defeated by a fucking rat of all things, you go back down to the basement to find a stronger exterminant, a stronger pesticide against the top percentage, genetically modified, aficionado rat, thinking that you should have just thrown some rocks stealthily at it. You can't find anything useful, so you decide to stay around, against your better judgment. Perhaps you can deal with the rat another way, but what is causing that awful stench? You peek and see a door. It is slightly ajar. Why not open it? As a cat is drawn towards the object of its curiosity, so too do you approach the door. Gently creaking, you push the door. Gasp! You recoil back from the door. Horrified, you immediately slam the door, only that you never hear it fully close. No matter what you do, you will only draw closer to what you've seen. The sight alone terrifies you to your core, as if it wants to tear you apart with its mere visage. Convinced that it will tear you apart, you feel the tendons in your body split, your flesh torn asunder. You cry out in horror, with no one to hear you scream. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.